Astrology isn't just about signs and symbols. It's a tool for navigating real life. Hello, and welcome to Astrology with Alisa. I'm your host, Alisa Dixon, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. This week brought a pretty significant astrological shift, which I'll get into in just a minute. But it made me pause and reflect on what I'm really doing here with all of you on this podcast. Over the last 9 weeks, can you believe it's been that long since we launched? I've told a lot of stories, mainly to show how astrology shows up in real life, to make it real, tangible, personal. Whether it was my own aha moments when I learned what my moon and my rising signs were and how those energies play a big role in my personality, especially when they blend with my sun sign, or how a birthday chart can give clues to what the year ahead can bring, or what types of things can come up under the intensity of a full moon, or how much better I can handle tough energies when I have a heads up that they are coming. You know, how I was able to avoid that fight with my husband the third time Pluto and Mars started acting up in the sky. I was able to navigate that week with intentionality because I had been tracking the patterns. These stories I tell bring the astrology to life. Astrology really is much more than just signs and symbols. I use it every day to navigate my own real life. That's why I say that at the beginning of every episode. It's literally my pre-recorded intro, because I want you to hear those words every week so that you know that astrology can be practical. And I would love for you all to start identifying some of these patterns in your lives so that you can start using the astrology too. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. It took me literally 3 years to figure out how to really understand the changing moon phases that happen every month and what I can do with that. But if you can just start noticing a few of these patterns to recognize when the planets up in the sky start echoing something going on down here in your own life, that's where astrology becomes practical. And that's where it becomes empowering. I'd love it for you all to get more out of this than just listening to my stories. When you see how it shows up in your timeline, in your choices, in the real life moments you're living, that's the heart of this podcast. So you can use astrology the way I do, as a guide for everyday life. And it's interesting that I'm noticing how much time has passed since we launched, because this week's episode is all about Saturn, which is the timekeeper of the zodiac. Saturn is the planet of structure, boundaries, responsibility. Basically, it's the astro dad of the solar system. I didn't coin that term. I heard it from another astrologer, but I really like it. It's the astro dad, the one that asks, have you done your homework? Before letting you move forward. And that's the big astrological shift that happened this week. Saturn just left Pisces on Saturday and entered Aries. And this isn't even just a shift from one sign to the next of the zodiac. It's also the end of a 29-year cycle and the beginning of a new one. Saturn is practical. I actually have Saturn very strong in my natal chart. I'm a double Capricorn. That's my moon and my rising. And Saturn rules Capricorn, which is probably why I'm so committed to making astrology practical. Saturn, like every planet, behaves differently in every zodiac sign. Saturn likes form and structure. So in Pisces, Saturn wasn't at its best. Pisces is water. There is literally no form. Water flows. So over the last 2 years that Saturn has been in Pisces, you might have noticed it was hard to maintain boundaries, either in personal relationships or in work-life balance. Or maybe this was a period of time where you were able to put some structure and planning around your dreams. Pisces rules dreams and intuition and spirituality. Saturn showing up here could have brought the discipline to go after those dreams. So think about what's been going on in your life since March of 2023. That's when Saturn first came into Pisces. For me, that's around the time that I realized I wanted to be a professional astrologer. I'd already been studying astrology for a long time, and I was super into it, but more as a hobby. When Saturn hit Pisces, That was when I got serious and started making real plans to build an astrology practice. That's what Saturn does. It makes you get real and do the work you need to do to achieve your goals. And often, when planets change signs, it's not a clean break. Saturn will be in Aries this summer for June, July, and August. But then in September, Saturn goes back into Pisces and stays there until next February, when then it goes into Aries for good. This is a typical progression when the slower moving outer planets change signs. And this means that whatever Saturn and Pisces themes you've had going on in your life over the last 2 years, you're taking a little intermission now for the summer. But you're going to wrap things up when Saturn does his last hurrah in Pisces. Then we're starting a new cycle for real. This summer is going to give you a glimpse of what your Aries Saturn story is, but it won't actually get started for real until next February. That's the cool thing about these outer planets. They move slowly, and because of that, they tend to chunk our lives into distinct phases. Each time one of them changes signs, it marks the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. And sometimes you don't even realize what that chapter was about until you're standing at the edge of the next one. That actually hit me this weekend. We've got a family wedding coming up. My stepson Shane is getting married in just a few weeks. He and his fiancée Mariah were over, and it suddenly clicked for me that they met right before Saturn entered Pisces back in March of 2023. And over the course of Saturn's time in Pisces, their relationship changed structure. They went from dating to moving in together to getting engaged, and now they're getting married. That's textbook Saturn. Commitment, responsibility, long-term foundations. It was like the universe asked, "Are you ready to get serious about love?" And Shane said yes. And here's the kicker. Shane's moon sign, it's Pisces. So while Saturn was in Pisces, it wasn't just a global or collective theme. It was all of those things as well for all of us. But for Shane, it was personal. Saturn was making contact with his emotional world, asking him to grow, to mature, to commit. And he did. That's what I mean when I say these planetary shifts aren't just abstract. They show up in the most real and beautiful ways. So take a moment and think back. What was going on in your life when Saturn first entered Pisces in March of 2023? What part of your life started asking for structure or boundaries? Or maybe a little soul searching and commitment? That's probably the area of your chart where Pisces is. And since right now we're right here at the edge of the next chapter, this is the perfect time to reflect what Saturn themes have been showing up in your life over the last 2 years and look ahead to what do you see changing over the next 2. And remember earlier when I said this Saturn shift is a big deal because it also marks the end of a 29-year cycle? That's what we call a Saturn return. It's the moment when Saturn comes back to the same spot in the sky that it occupied when you were born. It happens around age 29 to 30, again around age 58 to 60, and if you're lucky, one more time in your late 80s. This isn't just a symbolic moment. It's usually when major grow-up events happen. Marriage, divorce, having your first child, changing careers, buying a house, ending something, starting something. For me, around my first Saturn return, that's when I got married at 29 years old. And at the time, it didn't really feel like astrology was involved. It just felt like a logical time to get married. So I wasn't totally sold on the Saturn return as something special until I witnessed the second Saturn return. Not in myself, I'm not quite there yet, but for my mom, her second Saturn return was the end of a 40-year career as a dental hygienist. In astrology, Saturn also rules the bones, skin, and structure of the body. And in the same way that bones support our physical bodies, Saturn is about building the foundation of our lives. Careers, responsibility. She had been dealing with back and neck pain for over a decade, which is actually super common in that field. Most people retire from dental hygiene after 30 years, but not my mom. She kept going until she had a car accident. Not a major one, but just enough to finally force her to stop. Her neck and her back just couldn't handle the work anymore. And that was it. Her career ended in a snap. It was a bookend, a final chapter, a change in the structure of her life, and quite literally, her body. Literal Saturn themes. And here's the thing. Saturn doesn't always feel good in the moment. Neck pain, not fun. A car accident, not ideal. But sometimes things have to change in order to make room for better things. And we, as humans, don't always want to make these changes, even when we know deep down it's time. Why? Because we like what's familiar. The unknown is scary. Did my mom know it was time to move on from dental hygiene after 40 years? I'm sure she did. She probably felt it every night when it was quiet and it was just her and her own thoughts. But she resisted because she loved her patients, her routines, the work itself. She had no idea what her next phase could look like or how great it would actually be. That's Saturn for you. In the moment, it can feel heavy, restrictive, or even just annoying. Like when all you want to do is go outside and sit in the sun, but you know you need to stay in and finish your work. But Saturn brings structure for a reason. It clears what's no longer sustainable, so something stronger can take its place. And for my mom, something did. When she couldn't do dental hygiene anymore, she went back to school to start a second career. Who cared that she was retirement age? She wasn't done. And you know what she does now? She teaches stress management and holistic health at a local university, which, by the way, fits her chart so well. She's a Pisces sun. There's the holistic health. She's a Sagittarius rising. There's the teacher. And she's a Taurus moon, which is all about grounded physical care. Saturn asked her to let go of one structure and helped her build a new one that was really aligned with her soul. So whether it's the sweet beginning of a new chapter, like Shane and Mariah falling in love and building a life together, or the more difficult kind of shift, like my mom's career-ending car accident, Saturn shows up to restructure what's no longer sustainable so that something more aligned, more lasting can take its place. It's not always fun moving through Saturn themes, but it's always meaningful. And when you do the work Saturn asks of you, there are real rewards on the other side. If your natal Saturn is in Aries, you're heading into your Saturn return sometime in the next 2.5 years. And if that's you or someone you love, know that this is a powerful time to grow into your next chapter. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper into your own Saturn story, you can book a reading on my website. I'll leave the link in the show notes. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend, especially someone in their late 20s or late 50s who might be feeling Saturn's nudge. Take care, and I'll see you next time.